Welcome to In Conversation with the Branson Centre of Entrepreneurship. Listen in as we chat to inspirational people about their journeys to inspire your own. We hope these conversations will delight you, ignite your ideas, and propel you forward as you think about and grow your businesses. Today we'll be talking to Pride Maunatlala. Pride is founder at Archetypal, a personal branding and business strategy consultancy. She is the Chief Consumer Officer at LifeCheck and also a director at She Says Cape Town.
Pride, I'm so happy to have you in the room today, and I'm curious, excited, and hoping that together we'll have a conversation about purpose and what that means to you, and we'll just keep going together as friends, as partners, as collaborators. And so tell me a little bit more about yourself and how you understand purpose.
Nwabisa, this is a great moment for me. I've looked forward to talking a little bit more about purpose in general, and talking to you means a lot because I think you identify with what purpose is. I'm from Pretoria. I grew up in a space where, everything from around me just resonated with this idea of doing things to empower people around you, to build the community that's around you. So I think my initial expression of purpose was something around community and understanding what that means. I grew up with women around me who were very strong and very vocal about things that don't work. And somewhere in there, I started linking my knowledge and thinking to, wait a minute, something about women, bringing up women to actually speak for themselves. And over the years, through school, through working, through meeting different people, purpose evolved from just about community to what it means to me as a single person, and then what I can contribute in community. And the theme of women became about I am a woman. So how do I show up in the world in a way that's actually impactful and helps other people? So purpose for me is a living, breathing journey of discovery of what I can contribute to the world, why I'm actually here. And that's been so important for me because it doesn't stop, it evolves, it grows, it manifests, and it actually pours out into the spaces that I work, the work that I do, and the people I'm around.
I love this idea of you, first of all, not talking about purpose as a destination, and also being able to link and look back and say, actually, purpose is something that's been within me since, day one. And so it's not something that you just arrived at today or you're hoping to arrive at a later stage. And so with that, today you're talking about your purpose being about women. And so if you could give it to me in a one-liner, what is Pride's purpose as that line?
Okay. I'm going to say first, it's not just about women, but women are at the center of where I want to start that journey. My purpose is to almost enlighten and illuminate other people's purpose within them. My superpower is clarity. I create clarity in spaces that I'm in. And so my purpose is to bring that clarity to others to see what their purpose is. That can be translated in many ways. And the two places I've chosen to exercise that is through business and through women.
Right.
And those two journeys are important to me because business is about how do we evolve so that we can be more inclusive for people of color, for women, for people who've never had spaces like that before. And then women specifically, it goes back to my journey and the things that I've experienced where I'm going, wait a minute, there's limitation here. How do we unlock that limitation for other women so that they can also find their superpower? So mine is to just bring that clarity so others can find their purpose.
It's interesting because for me, it sparks this idea of sometimes purpose also comes from maybe a journey that you've gone on, maybe either from a place of lack or maybe a place of pain. And so the example I would use is, for me, my purpose is to connect to people and to connect people to each other. And I realized that came from this place of, I grew up as an only child. And so I grew up a little bit lonely. And so actually that was a painful sort of realization that I was a little bit lonely and felt a little bit strange in terms of being an only child. And so now my purpose is to be connected and to connect people to each other. And so, talking about what you're explaining in terms of purpose playing out in, the realm of business and in the realm of women, it just made me think of that.
As you said that, I actually got really excited because I was like, yes, that makes so much sense. That's literally you that I've met, that I've experienced. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, so maybe it's this idea when we're talking about purpose, even to entrepreneurs or people who are thinking about starting businesses, and even if you're not in a business, it's this idea of how do we get to a point of being able to articulate our purpose. And so it's almost like, as Pride, what would be sort of the cheat sheet that you would give to somebody and say, as Pride, I'm here to enable you to get to a place of articulating your purpose. Ask yourself the following questions.
I would encourage people to start with, look for things that are trolling you. And things that just follow you around from the beginning, you know. A really funny example, which people might not find funny, but I have a friend and I said to her, you know, you always feel cheated. You know, people cheat. You always feel cheated on, you know, whether it's in work or whether it's in relationships, whether it's in friendships. What's that about, you know? And in her translation of it, the purpose that she's found from that is that actually she's not being cheated. It's her perception of the lack of the thinking, but actually she's there to always like bring power to other people. It can come from a place of lack, and it can come from a positive place. But the first place to start is look for things that are common in your life. Who are the people who are common in your life? What are the experiences that are common in your life? And then secondly, look for the thing that you do that leaves others feeling better than they were before you walked in the room. Purpose is not about yourself. It's about yourself in a space, and when you leave, the impact that's left there will be missed if it was never there. If you don't exercise your purpose, what will the world lose?
Yeah. And I think it's this thing where I love this idea of talking about your superpower whilst also talking about purpose. And so purpose existing beyond you and including other people. So at the Branson Centre, our purpose is to change business for good. So that could be through our work, it's who we are. At the same time, it also informs all the decisions that we make, whether it is how we buy things, who we partner with, where we show up, what spaces we're in, who we're talking to Pride, for example. It's all about this idea of, are we changing business for good fundamentally in this decision that we're making, whether it's for ourselves, the entrepreneurs that we're working for, or for the Virgin Group. But it's so important to talk about this thing where it's beyond us. And so for me, the question is, what makes a good purpose statement, in your opinion, given all these things that we've already spoken about?
A good purpose statement should embody the outcome that you're looking for in every aspect of yourself and your business. So if you're going to be supporting anything to do with, let's say, climate change, think of it beyond what you're procuring, what your teams are going to be engaged in, what the things that you're going to support, what advertising you're going to do, but also think of your suppliers. You know, what are they doing? You know, it's one thing to say, you know, you're anti-plastic, and then your suppliers, that's all they use as part of their production. So build an ecosystem around your statement that actually can translate into any area of your business, how you spend your finances, you know. It's not just about language and marketing. I've noticed that a lot of people are taking purpose in two areas. They're either taking it down the marketing track, or they're taking it down the corporate responsibility track. Those two tracks are outward. A purpose is internal. It's all the things you're going to translate internally, and then the impact will be external. So it's going to impact the people outside. If you're a consumer-led business, for example, don't tell your consumers you do one thing when you're actually doing the opposite. Or don't put an expectation out there in your statement that's actually going to contradict how you do business. That's the best way of actually losing confidence. It has to be authentic. It has to be natural to you. And don't overstretch yourself as an organization. Don't reach for the stars that you see other people doing. Pick one thing that makes sense to you, one as the founder or the leadership team, and to the organization's ethos and how it can operate, and then pick the thing you can deliver. Because a purpose is massive, and there's many people gunning for the same purpose. So if you just stay in your lane and you make your lane perfect and you pass the baton, the next organization with a similar purpose will be able to pick it up and do greater things with it as well. So a purpose is an ecosystem. And you cannot own it alone because of the magnitude of the impact you're going to make change in. Pick the things in your statement that you know you can do, and you can do really well, and you can do authentically and deliver to the people on this earth properly.
I think what excites me as we start talking about how purpose is this thing that starts internally and then has an external outcome, starting to land purpose. So purpose isn't this airy-fairy concept that we talk about when we're having, a team offsite. Purpose is something that then weaves its way across the entire businesses and all its functions, which means that purpose, somewhere along the line, is measurable. So that's the question. Am I correct? I need the affirmation. Am I correct in kind of suggesting that if you can start infusing purpose across your business, you can start measuring your purpose?
Yeah, I really fundamentally believe we can start measuring purpose. We can even start setting our own how we remunerate, especially at an executive level, on the impact we make through purpose. Because purpose is not easy. It's the decisions that are going to be hard at the time. And the people who are going to make those decisions must know why they're making those decisions. There's always an easier option. It's easy to exploit a group, for example. It's easy to exploit a process, for example, to get an easier, quicker answer. But to actually stay within your purpose and do right is not easy. But if you start thinking about it, if we start measuring those actions, we start measuring the impact those actions have had. If we start at the end of our a financial year, part of our report is actually saying, wait, what impact did we make at first level? And then, sure, we cannot measure the second level, third level, and the rest of the vibration we've created, but we can definitely measure the first level. And so if we can find successful measure points that we can use, I really fundamentally believe organizations can start doing that. Startups are at the most opportune place to do that. They can start now because you've just started. You don't have the complexity of undoing the bad things that the bad habits that you've been exercising as a business. You're literally at the beginning. You've got this opportunity now to say, wait a minute, we're about, let's say, bringing financial freedom to the underserved. And if that's the case, how are we going to do it? Who are we bringing on as suppliers? Great, let's measure that. How are we communicating any of the work that how are we packaging our products so that it actually serves the underserved? And how do we bring knowledge into the space? You can measure that. If we have to spend on corporate social responsibility, then you can say, great, how are we investing in financial education for those people? Are we building apps? Suddenly your product pool and the choices you're making for innovation makes so much sense because you're focusing it all on that one purpose that everybody's now in, and you can measure it because the outcome will be there. I was listening to another podcast, and they were talking about companies that have measured their purpose actually have been very successful in growing their base and growing their innovation because it's so focused and it does not need regulating. It does not need you chasing your teams. Your teams can naturally innovate because they know what the end goal is. So those organizations, and these are Fortune 500 organizations who have said, actually, based on our purpose line, we've been able to measure success. So it is possible.
So it's almost like purpose then becomes your Southern Cross, seeing that we are in the Southern Hemisphere. So I'm not going to talk about a North Star because I don't know what that is, but I know what the Southern Cross is, sort of. So it becomes, this it gives you a sense of direction. And then I also think perhaps what is interesting about once we start looking at purpose as a very meaningful tool, actually, it helps with decision making. And I'm suspecting it also helps with building in resilience. And we've all been talking about resilience, whether it's a pandemic conversation or not, but resilience is a word that crops up very much. And I'm wondering if purpose isn't the thing that actually brings in the ability for a startup, a founder, a founding team to actually feel a little bit safer as they go about their business.
It actually just embodies resilience because tough times happen. If you're in business right now, you know that the last year and a half has been one of the hardest. But to be able to see beyond that, because actually your purpose is so clear, that's what builds the resilience. But not only that, because you now understand what it looks like to create true change. Once you've tasted a little bit of change, once you've just had a little, oh my gosh, that's what change looks like when many people benefit from what I do, then you know what's driving you. And it's easier for a collective who believe in the same purpose to go together. Purpose doesn't only build resilience for you, it brings you partners who want to actually inject their resources into what you're doing. So it brings you good partners who can actually take you further so that when you don't have the resilience, others who resonate with your purpose do, and they come forward and they contribute. I can't tell you how many good news stories I've heard of people saying we were in the dark, things were about to fall apart, we had run out of money, and this person came and said, I believe in what you guys are doing, here's my resources, go for it. That I believe in what you guys are doing, that's purpose.
Yeah.
And once you're actually very clear and crystal about it, those who believe in the same purpose come forward and actually want to partner with you. Because remember, the size of purpose, there's many people who believe the resources will come from somewhere.
So what happens when I've started my business? I've started finding my way in terms of articulating my purpose, and then the world does this. It changes, everything's upside down, left and right are no longer where they used to be. And I feel like maybe I'm losing my way with my purpose. How do I check into purpose? And can I update my purpose? Am I allowed to do that?
That is a very good question, Nwabisa. So the first thing I'll say is separate purpose from product or product and service. A lot of times when we hit rough times, especially in our business space, the first thing we do is we look at our product as our purpose. Actually, our product was the delivery vehicle of the purpose. So if I'll use the same example I used earlier, if your purpose is to provide financial freedom, for example, for the previously underserved, then your product would have been some sort of, let's say, app that helps people with financial knowledge. That's product. If something goes wrong and you can no longer access people to actually buy into your app, your purpose hasn't changed. It's still the same. Now you need a new vehicle. You need a new way to translate that purpose. And then you might find yourself needing to innovate on your product or innovate on your service. The product might be broken in that time. The purpose isn't. So that's the first thing I would encourage is just take yourself out of the moment and separate purpose from product, and then stress test. Am I worried about my purpose or am I worried about my problem? But let's say that the purpose is actually what wasn't sitting well, because purpose is an ever evolution, like I was saying earlier, when I started, I thought, okay, I need to help communities. Over time, I'm like, yikes, communities are fatiguing me. I'm tired. I need to do it differently. So it does evolve over time. So as a founder or as a business owner, sit back and say, okay, my product is broken, yes, but my purpose also needs to evolve. Maybe it wasn't necessarily that I want to give them financial freedom. I wanted to give them financial tools. Okay, how do I do that? You can evolve your purpose. You can translate it. You can polish it with new information that you get every day. From actually activating your purpose, you can find ways to actually pivot what you need to pivot. It's never going to be so radically away from the original. I can guarantee it. And you can call me out if that's not the case. But I definitely think that the evolution will make it even more better, even more crystal. The more you learn, the clearer it becomes.
Which is so exciting, because once we know that purpose is an evolving thing, and in its evolution, it actually only gets clearer, it also means that we can share our purpose a little bit more. I think for me, having also been an entrepreneur who at some point I felt like in my businesses I had purpose, but it turns out I wasn't sharing purpose with the teams with which I was working with. So purpose was my little secret journey and my little dream journal, but it wasn't a thing that I shared. And so I myself would encourage founders and leadership teams to get to a point where purpose is something that is spoken about in every single conversation. And so, because I think it starts talking to this idea of embedding purpose. And so what's your take on how founders can start thinking about embedding purpose in their businesses?
Founders forget sometimes that the people who came to work for them probably came for the purpose. It's not I know that jobs are a lack at the moment, but it's not every day that somebody wakes up and says, there's a big company, they pay well, and there's a small company, I'm not sure what's going to happen there. I'm going with the small guys, because people are financially driven to a degree, but what people are actually driven by more than finances is purpose. So founders mustn't forget that the very people that are with them right now possibly saw something in that purpose and actually came through because they believe in the same thing. And that's where the magic starts.
It's exciting.
It is. It's like, oh my gosh, these people just gravitated towards you because of that. So because that's there, the first thing that happens is that if you don't speak about purpose often enough, it's easy then for people to forget or to lose the momentum, because when you're at a distance and I'm looking at you and I want to engage with you and I see your purpose, that's all I see. When I'm in close proximity with you, I'm now in your business, I also see the chaos. The chaos as a way of overwhelming the purpose. And once you're deep in the chaos, it's not easy to see the purpose. So talking about it over and over, talking about the evolution of it, being transparent about where you are doubting it and where you are not even, and actually asking feedback from your people is the most powerful way to grow internally and to grow loyalty with your staff, because they actually are on the journey because of purpose. And they're on the journey because of your vision. So the two together, that conversation needs to be almost as natural and as organic as possible. If it means scheduling it in your calendar, like other important things that you schedule, do that. Put it in the calendar and say, guess what we're doing today? Talking about purpose. And talking about what I'm insecure about with the purpose we have. And what have you heard? What have you seen? And let's talk about the impact we think we're making. Is it true? Is it not? The transparency is important. The scheduling is important. The consistency of conversation is very important.
I think for me, as talking about this, one of the things that I found particularly exciting about joining the Virgin Group was realizing that we have a chief purpose officer.
Oh, I love that.
And her task is to make sure that purpose is infused across the entire group, across every single decision. And I thought, my goodness, when I grow up, I want to be a chief purpose officer. So maybe that is something to start talking about, even when we are building businesses, building ventures, is to figure out not only is purpose something that we articulate, embed, and try and measure, but it's also something that is looked after either by a specific cohort of people, and therefore we all buy into it all the time. It's not something that's tagged on at the end of our conversations or when we want to create a marketing campaign.
Yeah. And the important part there is that there's a running daily operational agenda that you're not moving away from. The operational agenda is actually the answer to the purpose. So the two are so intertwined and connected. So thinking about the operational agenda as something completely different is, I think, where most people almost go wrong a little bit. Come back and say, wait a minute, these other things that we're doing, these products we're servicing, all these things that we're doing are actually for the main thing, which is in the middle, which is the purpose. Once you have that right, then you need somebody to always navigate the purpose. You always need that like beacon in the middle.
So excited. And also we could probably talk about purpose for another 3 days. So I'm going to try wrap us up by asking sort of a couple of quick fire questions that you just complete the sentence. So, purpose is?
Exponential and benefits others.
My purpose is?
To clarify other people's purpose.
A good purpose statement is?
One that can be easily understood by everyone who reads it.
Life without purpose would be?
Very short and meaningless.
Life with purpose is?
Fulfilling.
Thank you so much. This has been such a great chat, and I can't wait to talk more about purpose with you, but this is only the beginning, so thank you so much.
I'm excited.
Yay! Thank you.
To our listeners, thank you for tuning in to this episode of In Conversation with the Branson Centre. For more inspirational content that delights, visit our website, bransoncentre.co.za, and follow us on our social media channels at Branson Centre of Entrepreneurship South Africa on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Till next time.